This is a Hâck The Hague podcast. On this episode, malicious hacking techniques explained.
Hi Peter, welcome. Could you please introduce yourself briefly?
Yeah, thank you. My name is Peter Jansen. I'm the founder of Cybersprint. I've got a technical background. Ethical hacking is something I've done for many years, decades I can say. So that's my brief intro.
Thank you. So you mentioned that you're an ethical hacker. Can you name an example of a hack or activity that has stood you by the most? Or an achievement you're most proud of?
I think what I was most proud of, is maybe 15 years ago, I guess, found a real cool vulnerability, remote code execution on a still very popular network storage device. And it was a pretty advanced way of exploiting it through the image preview library, which is open for everyone. And I did report it to the company. They didn't reply. This was 15 years ago when there was no responsible disclosure or vulnerability disclosure. But what happened, they didn't reply. I sent them 3 reminders, and then I asked them, well, if you're not replying to this, maybe I should put it online. I'm not even sure if I mentioned Facebook or Twitter because it didn't exist back then. Put it on my blog or something. I didn't do that, of course, but I got a response and they said, thank you for it, we'll look into it. And then I didn't hear anything, but suddenly there was a security update which fixed this without any mention of me. So it was a very learning experience, and luckily nowadays these things are most of the times treated pretty differently.
So you have quite an extensive track record in cybersecurity. So last April the Dutch government had a meeting with the team of Alexei Navalny. I'm not sure if I pronounced it correctly, but it turned out to be a deep fake. So could you briefly explain what happened then?
Yeah, so without going into details on this specific example, what you normally see is that the deepfakes are virtual representations of a real person. And typically this is done pre-recorded, so you record a video of someone and then you change the video using deepfake software to automatically map the picture or video of another person over your own face. So I don't think that specific case actually was a deep fake, but that's up for debate, of course. But what you see is that these deepfake videos are very easy to make nowadays. It's very easy to just download an app and generate such videos. But at the same time, these are also pretty easy to detect.
Okay. So if I understood correctly, a colleague of Cybersprint made a deepfake of you. So we're going to take a look at it now.
Smart data scientists promised me that they would come up with an example to show you how easy it is to make a deepfake. Well, these days, deepfaking is easy to do in the sense that it is even available open source to anyone with a tiny little bit of computer science background. They can just go to the internet and make a movie like this in minutes. So with all the amount of digital meetings we have these days, it is very difficult to see whether someone is real or not. Now, the technology is not that waterproof yet that it will be really, really waterproof, foolproof, distinguishable from the real thing. However, with these digital meetings, if you have a bad internet connection or a bad camera, visually it will be very difficult to tell the difference. Now, luckily, faking a voice is not there yet. That's still a couple of years away, but for now that's all we have. So if you know what someone sounds like my name, my voice, then you know that I am the real Piotr, right? But if you don't know someone, you might need to do some background checks before you actually start talking to someone.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
So what are the telltales, maybe in this video, that people can look out for to determine if the person in the video is actually real or not?
Yeah, so this video was made with common software that everybody with some technical skills can download and use. You have to tweak it a little bit. But the common telltales with this specific software is that the video is a bit slow in movement, if you look at the facial movements. And there's only specific parts that are animated of the face. So this is a relatively easy one to spot.
Aside from deepfake, the media also frequently report on other hacks. Could you give some examples of hacks that you frequently encounter?
Yeah, so most of the times weaknesses or vulnerabilities or data leaks, they happen in places where you didn't expect them, because it's very easy to miss something if you're not looking for it. So as an example, we during an investigation, we stumbled upon a camera that was connected to the internet, a security camera from the inside of a building, where we could actually see people registering their orders on the large touchscreens. And I believe that camera also had zoom functionality, so in theory you could probably also look at their PIN codes being entered. That's one example of a pretty shocking finding, and it was indeed a misconfiguration of both the camera should not be connected to the internet directly without the firewall or VPN, and it also didn't have a password set.
And does that happen often?
Unfortunately, it does happen very often because the companies installing these tools, that equipment, they do not have security knowledge. And it's also not mandatory for regulation, for example, that if you deliver a component which does have internet connectivity, that it must be secure. I do expect that to change in future, but that's not going to happen in the coming 5 years.
I can imagine that people at home who are listening or watching this video might have questions on how they can make sure that their cameras are properly secured. I can imagine that they have probably some cameras in the house or around the house. Do you have some tips or tricks on how they can prevent or to make sure that they are secure?
Yeah, I think it's very important to take a look at yourself, your own network from the outside, and that's sometimes a bit hard. And you can use tools like Showdown. If you go to, I think, me.showdown.com, they will tell you which port you have open, and that's very insightful. Because the open ports typically point towards devices. It could be your mobile hard drive, which is connected to the internet, exposing your private photos and videos. But it could also be your own security cameras that are connected to the internet. Your domotica setup, like controlling your blinds or your lights, it's all very easily connected, but it also means it's very easily improperly connected to the internet, so everybody can take it over. And nowadays I do see most vendors having all the security precautions into the manuals as well. They give you instructions on how to properly secure it. So yeah, read the manual is the best advice, I guess. And again, and that's also for deepfakes, it's for every example, you have to have another channel for verification. So if you, for example, are in a video connection with someone who could potentially be a deepfake, just make sure you do a phone verification on a number that you know that belongs to them, to just make sure that you're having the conversation with the right person. And it's the same with online fraud through VIP profiles, for example, fake profiles. If something is fishy, if you don't trust it, always go for a voice verification. It's easy to do. A lot of people forget it, but it's easy to do. And if you just ask for that, then most scammers will just bail out because they cannot beat that.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.